When you're sitting around and you're doing nothing, your body's going to ache. Your blood's not going to flow the right ways. Your arteries aren't going to be, as open, if that's the correct term. When you're doing physical exercises, it helps you mentally. You feel better about yourself. It's an accomplishment. It's something that you're doing. You can tell yourself, hey, I did this today. My mother used to tell us she got up and stood up 5 times. The accomplishment in her mind was just beautiful. Sadly, my mom couldn't get out of a wheelchair, but she told us that she could. We never said you didn't do it, but it made her feel good to tell us that she did because we were always worried about her. You have to constantly be moving, not 24/7, but when your life is sedated and you're not able to do things, you can do exercises with your arm. You can do physical therapy. You can do some type of therapy that can help you. But the more active you are, the more your mind's going to be active. And the more active you are physically, your body's going to react in a better way. Because if there's something wrong with you and you're not trying to do something, and physically, many people can't, that's an issue. They physically can't. But if you try when you can, you have a better chance of feeling better, maybe living longer, and enjoying life to a better degree than what you might think you only can do because you're limited.
Number 7, how can caregivers support the mental health of aging individuals?
Treat them like they're human beings. Don't treat them like they're an older person who can't do anything, who can't get up, who can't eat, who can't feed themselves. Don't always have to do everything for them. Help them do things, but treat them with respect. I've seen so many caretakers that work in facilities such as my mom that are rude, mean, they get manipulative, they get authoritative. And when people are elderly and they're in places like my mom is, they get scared. They fear people. So what do? They're not going to say anything. There's a couple of people that treated my mom bad. My mom's like, don't you say anything. I don't want them kicking at Mom. They're not going to kick you out of here. Well, those people, I don't want them around. Engage them. Don't just treat them like they're someone that you're getting a job to take care of an elderly person or someone who's an invalid or someone who can't do anything. Treat them like a person. Talk to them. Engage them. Don't just give them their meds or give them their meals. Treat them like a person, and sometimes treat them like you want to be treated. It's amazing when you're dealing with the elderly, if you engage in the stories you get from their past. It's not just about their past. The stories they tell you, you can relate to, you can learn, you can become a better person and create more empathy than what you had in the beginning. I learned so much more empathy going to my mother's place and hearing her stories and other people's stories than I've ever met or had the opportunity in my life.
Number 8, what are effective mental health interventions for elderly patients?
I'm not sure what the answer actually to that one is because I'm not a therapist, I'm not a doctor. But I know it's all about engagement. It's talking. It's doing things that get them active mentally. It's getting them thinking. Like I said before, it could be crossword puzzles. It could be playing bingo. It could be watching TV. It could be a group. It could be something that gets them active. Those are interventions that help. Talking to them. Sometimes I sit and talk to my mom for an hour and she'd maybe say one thing, but I kept talking to her. She had to think. I could see in her eyes that she knew what I was saying because the look on her face, she's like, oh, Denny, what the hell are you doing now? So I always knew that. She never had verbal at some point, but she knew that. But you have to engage in. That's going to always help. Any type of engagement is going to help you mentally. That's the important thing from where I've experienced in my life.
All right. Number 9, how does retirement impact mental health and what can be done to ease the transition?
That's an interesting question for many different people because it's different for everybody. There are people who work their whole life to retire. I hear people all the time, I can't wait, I'm going to retire. I'm going to go do this, I'm going to go do that. Why? You can do it now. If you have to wait to retire to enjoy life, then there's something wrong with that. Many people retire and many people never retire completely. They do odd jobs, they do this, they do stuff around the house, they do gardening, they take up hobbies, they travel. So what are you retiring from? When we're talking about retiring from a job, one particular job you do, that's one thing. But when you're retiring from something, but you pick other things to do or you do consulting, I don't know many people who actually retire and don't do something. But retirement also, at certain times, there are people who've talked to me and said, look, I reached a certain age, now they don't want me. I've reached a certain age, now I have to retire. I work with the Catholic Church, and many of the individuals I've worked with at a certain time, it's retirement for them. They can retire, do what they want, but the church wants them to keep going because they believe that they need to be of service still. it affects their health. At a certain time in your life, you want to be able to just breathe. Sleep in when you want, eat what you want, go where you want, do what you want, not answer to different people. A lot of times, I always talk to people about this. Retirement to me sometimes is like a prison mentality. In prison, your meals are there for you. You know what your schedule is 24/7. It's never really going to change as long as you're alive. When you're working a job, 9 to 5, you pretty much have everything almost the same. 9 to 5, on Friday, you go out to dinner. Certain things that you do, it's a regiment, it's a structure, but it's something you just get used to, so therefore you don't change it. In retirement, many people think about this. If your mind's what's helped you with your work, your thinking, now all of a sudden you don't have to. Find other hobbies. Find something that gives you that same stimulus, mentally, physically, or whatever you're trying to do, and enjoy yourself. But it's a very difficult time for many people when they're forced to retire, or when people have to retire because of a medical condition. It's very difficult as well. It plays on your mind extremely, extremely difficult for many people to really differentiate when you retire to do something and do nothing, or when you're forced to retire. Those are different ways to look at it, in my opinion.